Hi, everyone. Welcome to ElCo Chats. My name is Julieta. ElCo Chats is a regular podcast at El Camino College where we get to feature El Camino College students, staff, faculty, managers, and alumni and talk about all things El Camino. Today, I get to chat with Dr. John Yeressian and William Wilson. Professor Yeressian teaches real estate at El Camino, and William is one of his former students. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I'm very excited to talk to you both about this topic because, as you know, business is a top major at El Camino College. And under business, we have a very busy and popular field, which is real estate. So I'm here to talk to you all about real estate. But first, tell us a little bit about yourselves.
My name's Professor John Yeressian. I've been a real estate broker for, almost 20 years now. I'm an alumni of the program myself, so I came here, I took all the real estate courses. I've been very much in touch with the programs ever since I've left the campus. So the school has actually shaped my career. So I have a personal relationship and a deep admiration for the college.
Well, that was very well said. I don't know if I can follow that. But my name is William Wilson. I played rugby all over the world for a little while, Argentina, Thailand, Germany, and Australia. Then I came here to take some real estate classes here. I made the Dean's List, honor roll, and I'm just finishing up my last class here at El Camino to get my certification, and I've been doing it 2 years. And then I also actually start law school next semester. And John right here was a big avid fan in that. And I just really look up to him. So I really appreciate you pushing me, and thank you. Oh, I was also the president of the Real Estate Club too.
Thank you. And so much to share and so much to get to know about you and your background and your story. And for Professor Yeressian, what originally drew you into the real estate industry, and how has your own career shaped the way you teach?
Well, I kind of bumped into real estate by accident. I had already had a bachelor's degree in finance, so I initially was doing stock trading with Merrill Lynch for the New York Stock Exchange, and then that was commission-based, so I wasn't making too much money as a young stockbroker, so I tried to find a different pathway. Put my application out there, ended up in accounting. I realized I didn't like sitting at a desk 9 to 5. So I thought there was bigger goals where I could help people and do other things. And then I eventually quit that job, and I said, let me go explore. And I ended up with the Army Corps of Engineers, which led to a career at the Department of Defense. When I was sitting there one day in the office, they have a department called Asset Management. They came over to me and said, hey, we see you work hard. You're always here. Would you be interested in joining the real estate division? I said, I have no idea what that means, nor do I know what a real estate agent does or what do you guys do here in the government with real estate. So they basically said that, well, you know what? You'll have your own car. You'll have a laptop. You won't be sitting in the office. You'll be driving around places. And I said, oh, sign me up. Said, what can I do? And they said, you got to go take some classes to qualify. We call it KSAs, knowledge, skills, abilities. So I came to El Camino, met Professor Robert Rooks, who was teaching the real estate courses sometime about 20 years ago. And I was kind of lost. I wasn't sure if it was something I wanted to do, but he motivated me. So he said, look, you got to take these classes. Might as well get your license. You're already here. I didn't need a license to do what I need to do, but he pushed me to that. So I eventually got into real estate for the Department of Defense. I was opening up commercial real estate offices like military recruiting stations where people go in the Army, Navy. So I was leasing those. I would go find the space and lease those. I did that for a number of years. And then that was commercial real estate. So I did that. I hadn't actually sold a residential property, right? So at that point, my coworker came over and said, hey, can you help me buy a house? I said, I haven't done residential. I've always done commercial real estate. But I said, if you don't mind, it'll be a learning experience for both of us. and we can learn together. So I did the first residential transaction with the help of Professor Rooks. I called him a lot years after I graduated. So I was like, can you help me with this? And he guided me how to do that. I got my commission check. It was like $30,000. And I said, I think I'm in the wrong field. I should go into residential real estate, you know? I ended up in residential real estate after that. And, many years later, with the relationship with Professor Rooks, he kind of dragged me over here. I say drag because I never expected to be teaching in a classroom. So I came over here because of him. I ended up being an adjunct professor for a while, and then turning into a tenured professor. It's probably the most gratifying thing I've ever done because you can sit in a corporate office and make money for the corporation or the business you're at. But with teaching, you get this gratification of teaching the next generation of students that go out there. And I can't count the hundreds, maybe. I don't know if I've passed 1,000 licensed students at this point, but I can't count the number on my hands. But it feels really good that students come back and tell you, hey, thank you for helping me get my license. I achieved a goal, just like Billy here, because it's something they've always wanted to do and they don't know how to do it. So if they have a way to, a professor that can guide them, they really appreciate that. So I always tell my students what Professor Rooks told me. He said, our job as a faculty member or a professor doesn't stop when the class is over. It continues. It's a relationship for life with the student. So, I truly appreciate what he gave me. So I'm passing that forward to my students, the future generations.
That's great. And we have the proof of that here with our guest as well. But it really does sound like you have a very diverse background of experiences. And it sounds like you bring some of those aspects into the classroom, and having attended El Camino College yourself, you brought it full circle. And now we have one of your students here. So, William, did you come into the program confident, or did you find your confidence along the way, or how did that happen?
I think when you come into the program, you're kind of like a deer in the headlights, right? You kind of don't know where to go and where it's going to take you, that sort of thing. You kind of find your footing after a few classes and, finding like a good baseline of, knowledge, right? Because knowledge is power. But once you find your good footing and baseline, you can really go from there, right? You can sell properties, you can, buy them, you can flip them. I mean, there's so many different things of just selling someone a property, right? And people, I think, don't really get that. It's like, I just want to sell properties. Well, what else can you do with your license? You have to think like there's 50 different things you can do. You can get your license, then get your MLO license, go into loans. You don't necessarily need to be a realtor. You can do the loans for realtors, right? And you can be independent. You can be at an office, that sort of thing. So it really kind of opens the doors and opens your eyes to what are the possibilities, right? Because, knowledge is power, but what you do with that knowledge is more powerful.
Right. And what were some of the experiences that you would say you were a part of outside of the classroom that have helped your trajectory in the real estate industry?
So I work, I do heavy equipment. So I do, a lot of dirt work and my grandparents and my family's been in construction for 50 years. So I've already come with that type of base of knowledge, right? So I kind of wanted to get a different kind of skill set, right? To do that, I'm like, okay, well, I already have that. I can build a house. Okay. But what else could I do after building the house? Right. And so I think that working for like a heavy equipment union kind of gave me that other experience too. Right. So it's not just like you want to keep educating yourself. You want to keep, pushing the envelope. You want to keep just learning. Right. And because, the more you know and the more people you know and the more people you surround yourself, the better you're going to get. I mean, look at this man right here. I started doing real estate, and now I'm going to go into law. But most people don't know the real estate test is made by lawyers. So, and it's not easy either. People are like, I'm going to go pass my real estate test. Well, you got to be realistic. Are you going to pass it your first time? Probably not. Second, third, maybe. But it depends on how much you dedicate to your craft, because this is a skill and you have to constantly sharpen that skill set, right? So, okay, when you pass, now what are you going to do? Okay, well, I'm so exhausted from studying, whatever. That's when you push, because now you're going to get comfortable. So you need to now jump somewhere. You cannot get stagnant because now you don't want to let time lapse and then now you lose your license, right? That's what a lot of people do. And then sometimes they get discouraged. Most real estate agents fail in the first year. I think it was 90%, right? Something like that. Right. So you want to keep pushing. You want to keep surrounding yourself with people that push you. Like he's pushed me a lot. Like he's like, take as many classes as you do it all. And I'm like, what does that mean? He's like, just do it. I'm like, okay, you need to jump in the deep end. And that's where you become uncomfortable. But when you can swim in the deep end, okay, now I know what it's like to level up, right? Instead of just being comfortable in the shallow and taking one class, whatever. So take as many classes as you want and really give it your all, right? Because you want to be the best. Real estate's competitive. So you want to be the top of your class, essentially. You want to like apply yourself to the maximum, because not a lot of people go into law when they have real estate. But I think that just kind of is like, oh, wow, you have more feathers in your hat, I guess.
And it's a nice marriage, I think, of totally. Experiences, yes. Right? Mm-hmm. You mentioned dedication. And so speaking of that dedication, Professor Yeressian, how do you think the program prepares students, not just for a license, but for real world success?
Yeah, so our program is built around agents like Professor DeLuca that teaches there. He's a 40-year agent. Mm-hmm. All right, so he's been in business for a long time. I got 20 years now. So the faculty and the instructors are, professionals from the industry that have been doing it for many years. The students get the real world experience in the classroom, not just a textbook experience. So we tell them, this is how you pass the exam. This is the material in the academic world that you need to know, but this is how things are done in the real world. So we kind of marry the two together. And every single one of our courses satisfies either people that want to take the exam or they want to do an investment for themselves. So we have a lot of investors that come and say, I just want to learn real estate so I can invest in it. I don't necessarily want to be an agent, right? And then we got other people from other fields. We got escrow officers that take courses, appraisers that come and take courses. So it's very vast, but we always make sure that we teach to all the aspects of people that their future career goals are, right? So it's not just here's the book, here's how you pass the test. We bring that industry experience in, and then we support the students with one of the clubs we have is called Real Estate Association. So alumni, many years ago, one of our alumni set that up and said, you know what, I want the students to be able to hear speakers that were former alumni that can come in and tell them how their first year experience was. Right, so just to keep that going, because like Billy was saying, like the first year washout rate is huge, right? So, but if you can continue that mentorship outside of the classroom, we ensure that the students will continue to succeed.
And I don't mean to piggyback off that, but that's where you have to really just find your like-minded people, right? And like stay, be involved. You have to stay involved. And I was president of that club for a while, but I did lunch and learns with people. I brought people, did vision boards. Like vision boards are so key. People don't understand, well, what's a vision board? I'm glad you asked. Well, a vision board is setting your personal and professional goals down and putting a timeline on it. And now you can visually see it, right? That's why it's a vision board. So now you can see it. I've done it the last 3 years in a row, but I should have been doing it for the last 15 years, right? But I'm like, I look back on the last one I did. I'm like, oh, I've accomplished some of those. And it's kind of like subliminal, right? Like, oh, okay. So, once a year I had, a lone person actually come do it. Her name is Anastasia. She's great. She, does vision boards. That's what she does for real estate offices, but get a vision board, hang out with the right people, that sort of thing,
I love that. And interesting that you bring up the vision boards, because the vision board is about what's coming up next, right? So my next question for you, Billy, is actually, where do you hope this career takes you next? And how did the program here at El Camino College help you build this foundation?
That's great. I think that, great question. So, I'm kind of open to where it takes me, right? Because like I said, you can go anywhere with it. You can buy and flip houses. I have friends that are buying lots and doing container homes on the lots, or, what do you do? Okay, well, you buy a lot. Well, then what kind of, do you need hard money? What kind of loans do you need, right? Or do you buy them all cash? So it kind of opens the question of like, what are the steps to doing all that, right? Well, I have that baseline now, but you help people do that. I'm kind of open to where it takes me. It's not just, like I said, you can't be a one-trick pony of buying and selling homes. You have to be a value adder, right? You have to add value to your clients and just want to help people. When people get hung up on I'm going to make the greatest, you're not going to make it. You need to help people. That if you can help people and then you're genuine about it, not just say, I'm going to help you, but like, haha, evident, whatever. But if you can help people, they'll feel that, right? So you just have to want to help people genuinely. Right.
Right. And there's so many aspects in real estate. And it's so interesting that you said, because from my end, when I'm working with students who are interested in real estate, I'm thinking, oh, you're here to learn the aspects to pass the test, but it's beyond passing the test. And you're really enrolled in this program for so many different personal goals and professional goals as well. So speaking about, the goals for either one of you, what do you think students gain at El Camino that prepares them not just to pass their exam, but to build a sustainable career in an evolving market? But really that career can be from agent to other options. So
like what I tell students, that I say, when you enter into our program, most students come in saying, I'm here to learn how to buy a house, or I just want to pass the exam. But when they exit the program, when they're done with all the certifications, we have 7 different certificates right now in the books. So when they finish the certifications, they realize that there's other things they can do. It's a very diverse program. You can pivot, right? So talking about career pathways, like they can go from being an escrow officer to an agent to a broker to an appraiser. And we're actually one of the only college in California that's approved by the California Department of Real Estate and the Bureau of Real Estate Appraisers. So that means for students taking our courses, they get dual credit to either become an appraiser if they want to go that way, or become an agent or a broker. Right. So it's a pivotal career. So if there's any changes in the market, or if they feel like they're not doing well in, let's say, being in real estate sales, they can go over to being a loan officer, like Billy was saying. And then be on the loan side, which is now you're finding agents to connect with, right? So agents look for clients in the market, and then loan officers look for agents because they rely on them to send them clients, right? So it's diverse, and they can do a whole vast of things with the program. It's just the beginning. It's just the key, technically. Technically, pun intended, with real estate, right? It's a
literal key.
Right? So it's the key to opening up a career path. And I always tell my students, you don't have to go into real estate, but you're going to end up buying a home at some point in time in your life, right? So it's the biggest asset anybody purchases in their lifetime. I don't think, there's anything bigger than that. Probably the second best thing is a car, right? You buy a car, but a home is something everyone needs to have. So at least you have an education about it, and then it's also a wealth creation tool, right? So it creates equity, right? So some of my students want to buy a duplex, triplex, fourplex because they want to live in one and rent the others, and then to come up to a point where the equity's high enough, and then the tenants are paying their rent, so they're living rent free, right? If I can give you another example, we had a student that came and took all the real estate classes, got his salesperson license, got his broker license, and then he ended up purchasing a property management company. And his name is Jake. He's only like 20-something years old, but he just got married. He bought a $500,000 property management company, and it's one of the largest property managers in the South Bay.
Wow.
So they own tons of buildings.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Great.
Yeah, have you ever done business in real estate in South Bay?
Right.
Either there's an El Camino alumni, or with one of our agents that went through our program. But El Camino touches every aspect of any business in Southern California. I say we're like the USC of the South Bay. So
for real estate.
Yeah, we have a wide network. I can't tell you how many people come up to me like. Yeah, they tell me.
No, I saw it.
Yeah.
I saw it in action. We were at an expo, and I just ran into a former student and her daughter, who was also a former student, and now they're out, practicing as agents.
Oh yeah, those Sylvia and they're a great couple, like the mom and the daughter. I get a lot of mom and daughter, father son people taking courses, so it's fun to see that. But while we were boothing with the outreach, we had so many people stop at our booth. We're at the Torrance Chamber of Commerce. They said, "Hey, I'm a 1978 ElCo grad. I'm a 1960-something ElCo grad." I was like, wow, like they just stopped by and to tell us that, So our network is vast. So it's why it feels great.
So it really does sound like to address the changes in the market and the evolving market, really the real estate program prepares students for that because of the multiple directions that students can go into. And two, the network alone. It sounds like the El Camino network that we have within real estate, the student association. I think a big part of success for real estate agents, if you are an agent, is that networking aspect. So thank you so much for what you do. For my final question, for someone who's thinking about applying to El Camino, what advice would you give to them?
Just do it. Stop thinking about it, because you're never going to learn if you don't do, right? And character is built in hard times, right? So if it's not hard and you don't learn, then you're not going to, apply yourself essentially, right? So, but just do it. It's one of the greatest things that, you will do. You just got to commit, right? And it's just about taking that first step, and that first step is always the hardest, they say, right? But once you do that one, you take another step, you take another one, and then now you're off to the races, right? And like you said about the networking, right? It's like, realtors are a little competitive, but you all kind of work together too. It's like a really big family, right? And if you have a problem, well, guess what? This person might be able to solve it because he has more experience. They have a question. Oh yeah, boom. And that's what it's about. It's about helping people succeed. That's what realtors do. And it's, and it's just a bunch of, amazing people that, want to help each other and progress, right? And help other people out.
Yeah. I would say take the leap. Like our slogans say, success begins here. So like you got to take that leap. We are the village to help you. It takes a village to help someone succeed. And I tell my students that, if you go on and transfer and do other things, you can always come back to El Camino. Like me as an example, and retool your skills and craft yourself to make yourself even better. So I said education's a lifelong thing. Don't think you'll be done after a 4-year degree. You'll find yourself coming back because people on average change careers 4 or 5 times. So I've met architects that have graduated from here, went on to architecture school, and now they're high school teachers because they've shifted careers. So you got to pivot in life. But I do want to say one other thing that Mr. Rooks taught me. For people thinking about doing something, signing up for El Camino, he told me, he said, John, he goes, by the time you think about doing something, if you had just done it, you'd be done. So every time I try to have a, thought to myself, should I do this? Should I do that? I always think what he says because he's true. He's right. Because once you do something, by the time you think, take 3 months thinking about it. If you had just done it, you'd be done with one semester.
Right. And we have short-term classes, 8 weeks long. So you're absolutely right. If you do take those 3 months, you would have already been done.
Yeah, that was some of his best advice he gave me. It was like, why are you taking 2 classes? Take 4. And I ended up, I think one semester taking 5. I'm like, oh, this is easy. But it was because, And then, I'm like, hey, go to law school. I'm like, I'm okay. Then what do I need to go? And you submit everything and you're like, oh, I'm going to law school. But that's what people do is you push people to be better and succeed. It's like, okay, here's your comfort zone. Just get out of it. Just go.
Students and people in general can do more than they think they can. So they just need somebody to tell them they can do it.
And if it's something that you love to do, that's when it's easy because it was meant to be, right?
You got to be passionate about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like I said, we got hybrid classes, 8-week classes, full semester classes, fully online classes. We're catering to everyone that wants to have a career in real estate. So there's no excuse not to take a course with us.
At this point, this program should have more students enrolled.
Right. We're maxed out. We got every class is full every semester. So we got like almost over 300-400 students a semester. We're ranked number 3 in the state of California.
Well, that's amazing. That's another thing to think about too. Well, while you're thinking about it, other people are doing it. Well, then you could have taken that class, right? Well, then now you got to wait. So don't think about it. Be that first person to that line and get that class.
Don't wait. Just do it. Take the leap. If you think about it too long, it would have already been done. 100%. So thank you so much. I really enjoyed learning about all the different aspects of real estate and business and to hear your story too as a student as well. And you have so many students too that you could definitely bring. We could just have a whole year of episodes just listening to you and your students. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.